Come here now, girl.
Hi, BonBon here. Now, having reviewed hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of workshop maps, I can say without fear of contradiction that something that a lot of people struggle with are rivers. Specifically, realistic rivers. Now, admittedly, sometimes you're just going to want a big wide stream going through the middle of your map, and I'm not going to criticize for that. But what I'm going to say is if you are looking to make a realistic looking river, today's show is going to be a good starter. We're going to build one today. It's going to be on the fly. It's not going to be perfect. You can criticize all you like. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just trying to show you a brief lesson here, just to get you started and give you some tips to make a better looking river. What does help is having a realistic looking map, because realistic rivers come from realistic locations, and if you've got a marshmallow mountain, then your river coming down the side of that isn't going to look realistic. What I've done today is I've taken an old map off of the workshop. This one was by Mr. way back in the day. It's one of his earliest ones, admittedly not one of his best ones, by his own admission, not one of his best ones. But I liked the mountain ranges. I think they've got a realistic vibe to them. I have done a lot of editing to the map to get rid of all of the trees, the road networkings, and there was also some ridges, some sea ridges around on the outside as well. I've got rid of a lot of those. So we've just got some area to work with. So if you thought, oh, perfect map, if you subscribe to Houkura Island off of the workshop, and I will link this one in the description, you won't get this. You'll get something similar to this. But anyway, so we've got a slightly edited Houkura Island. Now, if you're going to build a realistic river system, you have to understand the water cycle. And I know you understand the water cycle, but we're going to cover it very briefly over 30 seconds anyway. Today we're going to be a water particle. We're down here in the sea, right? And the sun is shining, and we are sun is up there somewhere. The sun is shining, and we're getting evaporated up from the sea, and we're getting blown inland as a water particle, getting blown inland at about this sort of height, I imagine. And we're quite happy, little water particle getting blown inland. And as we're getting blown inland, the terrain underneath us is pushing us upwards, naturally pushing us upwards, and where the air pressure is slightly lower, and it gets pushed a little bit further inland, it gets pushed more higher and higher and higher, and the air pressure here is even lower again, lower still, and then up into the mountains, where the air pressure beneath us gets so low, eventually there's not enough pressure underneath to hold us up in the air, and we precipitate down as a raindrop, splosh, onto the side of the mountain. That is roughly, very roughly, it's not strictly 120% everything you need to know, but that is roughly how it works. So we're going to be looking at starting our rivers from the mountains and have the water running down. Now the question is, where? Where do you start the rip? Now, the common mistake is to open up the water tool, open it up, and have it set to, what do we reckon, about 0.35 isn't too high, 0.36 isn't too high, and we'll put a water source up here in the mountain. There, that should be about right. We'll speed the speed slider up a little bit, and let's see what happens. Okay, and there we go. There's our lovely little water source, and that should provide us with a lovely river. Except for, when did you ever see water pouring out of a mountain looking like that? Well, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Let's go back and remove the water source. Much too much water coming out of there. Right, let's speed that along and get rid of the water. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to take the water tool, and we're going to set it to the lowest possible setting, which is 0.001. Press enter. See, it says 0.00 there, but strictly speaking 0.001 is what we are working with. And we're going to place water spawn points along just underneath the top areas of the mountains, and we're going to do it without any thought at all, just about the right level. We're not that bothered about accuracy here. We just want to see where the water is naturally going to flow. because realism. Around the lower area here. How about there? We'll probably take a few of these away in a minute, so don't worry. This isn't how our end overall river system is going to look. But we want to know where the water naturally wants to run. Now, once you've done this a few times, you are going to literally not need to do this. You're going to be able to see with your eyeballs and your imagination where the rivers would flow. But there we go. We've got all of these rivers and streams coming together, converging. Notice the way that the water actually comes together but doesn't split or break. We are looking at a fairly realistic river network potential here. Oh, got an interesting little shape going on here, where we've got a few coming together into there. Then it's merging into the river here, and this one hasn't got enough water coming down to it. That's fine. That's fine. And then this. Now, once the land starts flattening out, this is where we're going to have to give the river a little bit of help in the end. But for now, we'll just leave it doing its thing. Now come back up to the mountains, call up our water tool again. The water tool is part of Bloody Penguin's extra landscaping tools. I will link to that in the description as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take away a few of these spawn points, which aren't really necessary for our needs. We've got a lot going on up here. We can probably remove a few of these. We'll get rid of a few of those. That one as well. And just take down the water levels a little bit there. And across the top here, we probably don't need all of these. Right, what we can see though is, do we really want the water coming out of near the top of the mountain? Well, possibly not. Start looking for where the green is on your stream. So the green or the sand starts about here, and if we have a look in here, it starts about here. So we're going to remove those two water spawn points at the top there. So now we've got a more realistic start location there. Here, this one here, well, all the way up there, but it doesn't really start until about here, I would suggest. I'm going to get rid of that one. This guy up here, I think the sand starts down at about this location. So there, that one's gone. This one here is pouring down and it starts about there. Put a water spawn point there. Remove him. This guy, I reckon about here. And what have we got here? We've got these guys here. I reckon we could put one about here and one about there. That'd be more realistic. This one here, we can bring him down to about, I reckon about there. So we've probably still got too many spawn points going on here, but you're getting the gist now, yeah? I think. I hope. Hopefully I'm explaining things fairly well here. You can go. I probably don't need another one there. We've probably got enough going on there. I reckon actually we probably move that over to that side. This one here, possibly about here. And I'm going to start you off a little bit lower down the mountains. And then all of these, just bring them down from the top of the mountain, because top of the mountain is just a little bit too high. You've got to give the water a chance to run down the mountain to start forming these streams, you see. I'm just going to draw that one down a little bit to there. Just drawing it down to where the water is naturally running anyway. So I reckon one about here. And finally you can go, probably don't need another one there. Okay, now we're getting a little bit of a lake going on here. I'm liking the fact that we have a lake. We probably don't need both of these either, so he's gone. Have we got too many spawn points up here still? That one's probably not needed. Just start taking away the ones that you feel are a bit superfluous. So that one's probably not needed. That one's not so bad. Only problem here is there's not quite enough water coming down from this one. So when you're looking at water flow, it's not carrying through. Still on the minimum setting. Give it another little top up. Just give it a little top up. It should be fine with a little top up. Okay, I think we're okay here. Again here, now we've taken away some of the spawn points at the top, we seem to be struggling a little bit for water flow there, and we'll put a little one here as well. That should just start them a little bit that way. And we're struggling a little bit for water flow here and here as well. Let's give them a little pop up there. How about one there? Starts that one on a little bit further. And yep, that's starting to roll. Now, if we have a look at our river, you can see that as it's entering the sea, it's starting to struggle for water flow. And that's because evaporation. As the water's coming down, it's just getting wider. There's not enough water flow coming down here to provide a wide river. But that's fine, because as you've seen, we can top these up as we're going down with a little extra water source here and there. But now we've kind of got the shape of our river. This one is not quite joining in. We'll just give it another little water source to boost it in there. Right, now we can see the basic shape of our river. It's like this. Now we're going to have to use a little bit of creativity. Don't worry, the water down there, we will make it meet the sea in a moment. So we look at this and we say, right, what is good about this? What bits are too many? Do we really want, say, this one here? That might be one too many. So I think we can take out that one with that one and that one. So now we've got to help the water actually create realistic looking streams. We're going to do that with the terraforming tool, and I'm just going to slow the game down. We don't need it running super fast now. Now, terraforming tool, what we're going to do is we're going to choose this shift terrain tool, and we're going to set the brush strength again really low. I think possibly 0.001 might be about right. And what we're going to do is we're just going to drop where we can see the water is running. We're going to brush size needs to come right down as well, something around about, possibly around about there. And we're just going to drop it just a little quick stroke towards your camera. And this will help cause a little, if you imagine the water is flowing, it's taking the soil with it and causing a little bit of a gully. We can do the same over here. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight either. You kind of want it running as the water would be running. Because remember how water runs? It doesn't run in a straight line. Every time it hits a groove or a burrow or a stone, it'll splash the opposite direction, so it won't be a naturally straight line. Just because we have got this natural terrain doesn't mean that we don't automatically do some adjustments as we're going. And now around the outside where we're starting to spill, we're just going to use again the same brush settings, but just a little push upwards, and that is helping to contain the stream into like a realistic shape. We don't really want it breaking its banks too much. There. And coming up this way, we can do the same up here. That's not too bad around here. Let me do a little bit of a little look there. I'm just going to bring that up. I'd like it to hopefully come through that way a bit. And we're just going to do a little bit of raising up here. And lowering there, all on the lowest brush settings. We've got a little bit of a lake going on here, and also we have got this water spawn is barely reaching. What we think we need to do here is to go up to the top, and we're just going to set the setting on that a little higher. Don't really want to put an extra spawn point too far down here. Let's come up to this one, and right there. And we're going to increase that to 0.002. So that should push out double the amount of water that it was doing before, and that should be just about enough to reach this little lake that we've got, a little mountain lake. Okay, so you can see how that's working. All you need to do is just spend plenty of time. There is no rush with these, no rush. Let's go back to the terraforming again. And I reckon we can do a little bit of bringing that in there, raising the areas here, raising this area here, just by a stroke, and lowering the height of the terrain just underneath where the water is naturally running. We can probably bring that together a little bit around here. So all you're doing is guiding the water down the mountain in the path that it wants to take. Here we've got a little bit of breaking of banks, and lower the center section down a bit. So just raising the banks around the edge to keep the water in place. And then around here, this is way too wide. You don't really want it that wide, especially up in the hills. But when you get down to the bottom, as you're getting closer to what would be the river delta or your river exit, then that's where we'll start playing. Now this is quite a steep area here. What we could do is we could do a little bit of terrain work and put in a little bit of a waterfall here, possibly. That little setting there, and we'll do a little bit of a cliff there, just a little bit of a cliff. And what I'm going to do now is smooth. You see I'm doing this in real time, can't you? Oh yes. I'll smooth that area out there as well. So we've got a little bit. Didn't want to have too much going on there. Back to the original settings. 0.001, 0.01 even. Raise the bank up a bit and push the bank in a bit, and so it goes. So it goes on. Right, so that's the basics. So we've now got hopefully a better contained naturalistic river system at the top here. We'll do some detailing in a minute on that one. It's still far from perfect, but as you know, we're doing this on the fly. Now down here, this is too straight. Rivers, although it is meandering a little bit, rivers don't follow straight lines. As we've already explained, it'll hit a burrow or a rock and it will bend off in a slightly different direction. So we'll come back to this this terraform tool. We're going to have a slightly, we'll stay with the same low brush set strength, make a slightly larger brush size though, because we are quite wide. And I'm just going to lower the terrain off in that direction and raise it off that way. See if we can force the river to come in this direction over this way a little bit. And then we can bring it back this way. And hopefully, now there are scientific mathematical formulas for deciding how wide your river should be and how much it should S-bend and curve. There are plenty of resources actually on the internet, including Minute Physics on YouTube are superb for covering this sort of thing. I'll try and remember to include a link to one of their videos regarding why rivers curve, and you can see a much better example of how they should work rather than the flying job that I've just done down here. Of course, this river should widen as it gets closer and closer to the bottom as well. I will have a look at that. Let's come up and do a little bit of detailing. Now remember, what likes water? Life likes water. And so for detailing, what we'll do is we'll go into the landscaping tools and we'll find some plants. I reckon the forest floor part. We're not going to be doing super realistic selections of plants for this. Just giving you ideas, getting you started on how to you can make a better looking river. So I'm going to do some this nice mix of plants going on here, the forest patch, and I reckon we could do with some what's these ones here. These are quite interesting as well, Indian grasses. We'll do a few of these in here as well. This looks much better like that. And then have we got some what's that? Probably not. How about some trees? We probably want some trees along here as well. Just a variation. don't have the same tree all the time. So trend on there as well. It's part of the same set here, so we'll do a few of those along here, and we'll do a few, just mix things up a bit. I know we've now got mods such as the forest brush, but I still like placing by hand. It gives me a feeling of satisfaction. Now we've got all that going on. You'll find that they're also in the under vegetation. Now we've got all these lovely sets of things here as well, and these do work really nicely for doing a little bit of like mossy waterfront detailing, if I can learn how to speak. So we'll do some of those along there as well, and then some lighter ones as well, just to add a little bit of interest there. And then if you want to, there are things like decals as well that you can add, such as the River Rocks decal there. We'll put a few of those along the bottom of the river too. So if we go back to there and drop the speed of this simulation down, I think we'll make it a little bit more believable. So yes, so just this area here looks, well, pretty damn nice, I think, actually. Just by popping down a few various sorts of detailing, that brings that part of the river to life. Superb. Right, so our S-bends, our curves aren't as smooth as we would like them to be. Open that one up there, and back to the original very low settings. We don't want them too high. 0.01 should be fine. And we can see here again, we just need to work on the terrain, just little strokes here and there, just to guide the water in the direction that makes a lot more sense. And as we get lower and lower to, I'm not going to spend any more time doing this. You've got the idea using that minute physics video. And then as you're going down here and you see that the water is starting to weaken, you can add a few more water spawn points all the way down the length of the river where needed. Again, I have done it on the fly here. You would just take your time, add one or two until you get to a point that you're happy. There are areas here like this part of the river here is just too wide. We've done no work on this area really at all. We would want to contain that in with riverbanks and dropping the riverbed a little bit. But that's basically all there is to it, creating a realistic looking river. I'll remember to include all of those links into the description, and yeah, tell me what you think in the comments. I would be really interested to hear what you have to say. Now I'm going to flesh this out a little bit more so we've got a really nice thumbnail to go on to YouTube. Thanks for watching, for commenting, for liking and for subscribing, and let me know what your best tips for making realistic rivers are as well. Thank you. I've been BonBonB, and you've been very, very welcome.